everyone, my name is Caitlin Conlin. I'm one of the lab trainers here at eMoney Advisor. My presentation today is going to be on interactive planning, so how to put your clients' goals in lights and how to present them interactively and collaboratively. As a company, it's very important for us to remain technologically relevant in the industry, and I think as advisors and planners, it's important for you to meet the needs of a client base that wants to be part of the financial planning process. I want to start out with a quick quote from Richard Averett. He is the CEO of Raymond James. He kind of looks back on the financial planning industry and talks about how it used to be done, and that was with the financial calculator. So it was arduous, it was lengthy, it took a lot of time to update, and that's very, very different from how technology allows planners to work today. So it allows us to be more efficient, able to serve more clients, and be more timely and thoughtful with them. So over the last couple of years, whether it was calculators or Excel spreadsheets, or even more recently, this trend that we've seen where advisors and planners use software programs like eMoney to manipulate their clients' cash flow and give them a 50-page deliverable of different techniques shown. But with that, I think every single page your client turns, there's some sort of value lost. There's no wow factor anymore. And that's why I'm encouraging you to use our interactive planning tools. In our release back in December, the release of EMX, the interactive planning tool was something that was huge for us. And we created this planning center for you, and the three interactive tools, Goal Planner, Decision Center, and Distribution Center, really took the spotlight in this planning center. And I want you to almost look at this as your toolbox. So you have a huge box of tools. When your client comes in, you just need to assess their needs and pick the tool accordingly. And what I love about our planning center is that when you need to create the 50-page deliverable, the tools are still there for you. But why not use interactive planning? Why not allow your clients to visualize that, all right, I'm either going to be just fine with everything we put in place, or maybe that decision wasn't worth the immediate impact it took on my cash flow. So I want to play one video from Ron Carson. He's a power user of eMoney. He kind of talks about the interactive planning tools and gives you one very important piece of advice that I want you to remember.
I think visualization, I'm big on substance and sizzle. And I love the sizzle, but you have to have an equal part substance. I like to not show and tell, but tell and show. And I think that a lot of us make the mistake because we overload someone with way too much information. We're talking to them and we're showing them things on a screen. I have found that my presentations have been far more effective when I tell them what they're going to see and then I show it to them. And I think we have the dialogue about the improved developer change, and then we take a look at Decision Center to see how we can solve for what their problems are. But I'm big on visuals. Let's have the conversation before they see it.
All right, guys, so tell and show, not show and tell. Two very important phrases that I want you to remember, again, throughout the length of my presentation, because it's almost that see it to believe it type moment. Your client's able to visualize what's happening to their goals. We're giving you the toolbox, but it's up to you to set the stage for yourself as a presenter. So tell your clients what they're about to see, set the expectations for them, and I'm going to show you a few different ways to do that. I want to work today on a client that's coming into the office to discuss some retirement concerns. Kevin and Diane Stevenson, they are in their 50s. They have 3 young children together, and then Kevin has an older daughter from a previous marriage that's kind of on her own. Their net worth is just shy of $2 million. They have about $700,000 in investable assets, and then we have this business on the side. The business was last valued at just about $1 million, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. When we look at what they told us was important, their financial priorities the last time they were in the office, we see that client and spouse differ just a little bit, but overall we see 3 things that are consistent, and that's saving for their college education for their children, planning for retirement, and leaving a legacy. We see those 3 things are unique between Kevin and Diane, so that's what we're going to plan for today. When we look at what education planning means for the Stevensons, you see 3 not-so-cheap universities, and you see that all 3 children are going to school over a span of 10 years. They're overlapping, and somewhere in the middle of that, client and spouse is trying to retire. So we're going to hop into the application today. We're going to talk about all three of these tools for the Stevensons and how it's going to work out for them. So one of the things that I want to talk about first is how to set the expectations for your clients. Ron Carson did a very good job at explaining why it's important to tell and show and not show and tell. And one concept that I think a lot of clients have a difficult time understanding is the concept of Monte Carlo. And as a presenter, it's going to show up a number of different times in these interactive planning tools. So set the stage for yourself and explain what it is and what it means for them. Up in the settings area of our application, we give you the ability to determine what Monte Carlo means for your practice. So we can click into this and it's going to say, define the probability of success for your clients. You can bring them into this area. You can describe what this means. What does it mean if they get a red score? What does it mean if they get a yellow score? What does it mean when they get a green score? If Monte Carlo is not part of your practice, you can uncheck this box and just run simply a projected funding diagram. So if you don't use Monte Carlo, maybe you think it's going to be easier for your clients to visualize just percent funded, uncheck this box and maybe that's your story today. Since Kevin and Diane told us that what was important to them was college education, retirement, and leaving some type of legacy to their children, a really nice place to start for them is going to be the goal planner. So let me hop into their profile real quick. Goal planner is awesome for a client like this that is a little bit far away from retirement, so they still have time to plan for different things. But most importantly, it allows you to visualize what's important for your clients and allow them to visualize that right in front of their eyes. So only things they're going to see on the screen are what they told you was important, the education, leaving a legacy, and retiring on time. But behind the scenes, everything else is being run. So you're running your Monte Carlo simulations, all of your underlying assumptions, and all of your growth rates. They're being run behind the scenes of this tool. So let's hop into Goal Planner. And right off the bat, we're running the current situation. So everything the client told us that was listed in the facts, and we can explain to them what everything in here means. So what does retirement look like for you? What does leaving a legacy look like for you? And what are these education goals look like for you as well? To tell your story, you can click into any of these to describe to your clients what the cost of education is going to look like, what the funding is going to look like, and what the overview is going to look like as well. So right off the bat, as you could probably see, they are at a 9% chance of success here. Showed you that diagram, very expensive colleges, trying to retire sometime between all their children in college at the same time. So we could probably expect that this is the case. 9% chance of success here. We need to work on a few different things to get them to achieve their goals a little bit easier. So what we can do from here is add a comparison. And what the comparison is going to do is allow us to take these base facts and change them in any way that allows your clients to visualize what changing a few different things in their current situation is going to do to allow them to get closer to these goals. This is where the meeting can really become collaborative because we can click into any single one of these and have your client set the parameters around them. So if I click into the retirement goal, we can then slide the mouse, slide the iPad, slide the computer over to Kevin and Diane and have them set the parameters around when the latest they would want to retire is. We can click into retirement and we'll say that they told us 67 was the year. So we will click that. And one other thing I want to look at for them right now is the difference between the expenses and savings. So we can click into savings and it's going to pull up all of their accounts. And again, slide the iPad, slide the mouse over and ask them, what is a realistic goal for you to save each year? We click into the brokerage and we can say that, all right, $15,000 a year is realistic for us to save. We're going to make that a goal and we're going to apply it in our goal planner. Monte Carlo is going to rerun 1,000 simulations and show us what the updated probability of success looks like here. So we'll give that a second to run. And if they don't meet their needs here, there's a few other things that we can do, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. you'll see that as we walk through all of these, any change that I make is going to have a blue line listed over it so that you can identify what changes you made in the previous scenario. So we got a yellow score. We are looking at what we already described to them with a level that we feel comfortable with, but we can make one more change to get them into the green. We can either add a new scenario from here, or since they were already comfortable with the savings and the retirement ages from this one, we can just duplicate this one and make one additional change in the third scenario. And that change that I'm going to recommend is somewhere down here in the leave to heirs, because $1 million legacy for a client that's not making it already is very, very unrealistic. We know that's important to them, but why don't we change that $1 million down to $400,000? He has 4 children. That leaves at least $100,000 for each child. So we'll see what $400,000 does for this client here. So again, it's going to take all of the changes we made in this last one, retire a little bit later, save a little bit more, and now we have that third technique of dropping the legacy down from $1 million to $400,000 from here. Again, Monte Carlo is going to run. It's going to give us that visualization that hopefully in this scenario, we're going to be okay. Let's give it a second. And we're at 91%. So we described that in the very beginning when we talked about Monte Carlo. Green is a level that we want to be at. We feel very comfortable with your probability of success there. And if you need to make these different sacrifices to get there, then we're all comfortable with that. But I want to kind of go back to the story I told you in the beginning and talk about that business really quickly. And the business is something that they really, really would like to leave in a legacy, but I want to show them selling that business in their lifetime, so maybe they wouldn't have to make some of these sacrifices that we talked about in Goal Planner. And a great way for them to visualize that in more of a cash flow perspective is your Decision Center. All of our interactive planning tools flow seamlessly together, so we can open our current situation in Decision Center. Turn these off. And from here, it's giving us that interactive picture of your cash flow. So we can see that Kevin and Diane, their assets are lasting till 88. They are, again, not able to make it even to the second death, but they're definitely not able to leave a legacy from here. So from here, we've built in a number of different techniques to show them what selling the business would do to their retirement lifestyle. So what we can do is we can first turn on the sell the business technique, and immediately we see the release of cash into the cash flow simulation. Scroll over down to the last year, and we're at about $4,800,000. So you are looking at not just leaving a $1 million legacy, but upwards of $5 million legacy after the sale of the business. Since that's something they were a little bit hesitant about, you can build in additional techniques to kind of sweeten the deal. So if you sell the business, not only can you retire a little bit earlier, but you can also join that country club, Kevin. You can make that retirement dream a reality. We can drop in both of those things. Again, we look at the last death year. We're still sitting at about $3 million there. And we can run it in a Monte Carlo simulation to test it in a different market performance. So again, 1,000 simulations, it's going to run that here. We get an 85% probability of success. We already explained that's something that we feel very comfortable with. So this looks like a great plan. Our concern now is in the fact that if they don't get 100% of that business valuation, if they only get half, what is that going to look like? So we can turn off the sell the business technique and turn on selling it for half the value and see how much that affects their Monte Carlo from here. And you see immediately that it's very, very, very different than that first probability of success that we saw. So you're looking at a 5% probability of success, so much so that even 50% of the trials were in the negative. Looking at it from a cash flow perspective, we see that we do get a little bit of inflows into retirement, but again, we're not able to make it into that second death year. So what we can do from here, because that's a concern, we want to sell the business, but what if we wait and we only get half? That's when you can bring out kind of your power tool, and that's the advanced planning tool. So what we had our planners do was build in an advanced plan that Kevin and Diane sell the business within the next couple of years to their employees and take back a note receivable to secure income over a span of 10 years. If your planner builds that plan or that advanced technique in advanced planning, you can now show it in Decision Center. So you can click into Base Facts, you can click on the plan that we've created to sell the business to employees. We'll turn that on. Turn this guy off. And you're going to see all of your advanced techniques listed below. So you can see that what we did was we created a shell of a taxable investment, and we created the transaction that, again, they were selling the business to their employees and taking back income over a period of 10 years that was being placed into this taxable investment. Immediately, this looks like a great idea. So we've dropped that advanced plan in. We don't have to worry about only getting half of the value. We can still retire a little bit earlier. We can still join that country club. Looking at the last death year here, upwards of $4 million. Quickly, we can run a Monte Carlo just to verify everything. And this looks like the plan that we should go with. We're securing income. We're able to do all of these things. We're paying for all of our expenses we talked about. 90% chance of success here. This looks like the plan that we're going to stick with, and then you can kind of go back to the deliverable and draw up some static numbers if that's what they want to see. But as we were kind of going through this advanced plan, we realized that Kevin's oldest daughter, Allie, was written up in the will to get a percentage of the business proceeds. So what that means that when we created this note receivable, this installment sale, we accidentally disinherited her. So a really nice way to verify that and change a few things when it comes to estate planning is the distribution center. So I'm going to open that tool up next. So I'll click into distribution center. Again, everything flows seamlessly together. So all of the techniques that we had on in decision center are going to live here now as well. Turn on the sale of the business to the employees. We have all of that going on down here. And Distribution Center is nice because it allows you to simulate the net worth and all of these different reports in any year in the future. So instead of as of today, I'm going to take a look at what it looks like in the first death year to get a really clear picture of what the estate will actually look like. And we can walk through what is Kevin and Diane's net worth going to look like in those years. These are great reports for, again, visualization, because it allows your clients to understand what that net worth number means and what is being made up of it. So if they ask, what is that $5 million comprised of, we can click right into it and see that portfolio assets, real estate, and business are primarily what's making up that particular net worth in that year. We can then look at what happens in Kevin's death, so the flow of money from Kevin to Diane. We can take a look at survivor income. So if the spouse outlives the client in any way, for Diane, she outlived him 3 years, so you're able to see how her income is secured over those 3 years. You're also able to see Diane's death. So when she passes away, how are the assets being transferred to the children? And then ultimately, the most popular report is the overview. So what is in Kevin's estate, what's being transferred to Diane, and what are they kind of being, or what's being absorbed in taxes? To verify whether or not Allie was actually disinherited, we can click into this total to heirs, and we see Lisa, Megan, and Tony, Kevin and Diane's 3 youngest children listed there, but we don't see Allie. So again, that concern of we accidentally disinherited her proves itself correct, and we're able to verify that in Distribution Center. So what we can do from there is have our planners create a separate plan which duplicates everything we did in this one, but changes the will slightly. And we'll call that sell business to employees and adjust the wills a little bit. Those techniques are going to pop up down here. You'll see, again, the same things live here. Business account that we opened up, we sold the business, but now we have a trust technique and we've changed the wills. So now when we look at the total to heirs, Allie's name is listed there, and this was ultimately the goal of the entire meeting. You have all 4 of Kevin's children listed there. They're all getting an equal piece of the pie. Legacy was something that was very important to both client and spouse, and in this moment, they're able to visualize that. So in this meeting, we had them walk through a number of different things, starting with their education goals, allowing them to visualize that that's going to be taken care of. We secured retirement, we sold the business, and now ultimately they're able to see what the final picture looks like, and that's all four of their children being taken care of once they pass away. The last tool that I'm going to talk about is a tool that is for a very specific type of demographic, and that is your clients in retirement. So in the beginning when I talked about assessing the client's needs and choosing the tool, that's very important. And for Kevin and Diane, they're not a client that needs this type of tool yet. This tool is primarily used for, again, clients in retirement that aren't sure where their paycheck is coming from. So I'm going to change clients, and I'm going to tell you a brief story about my dad. So let me get into the Bassett's first. And this was a tool that I recently brought home and used on my dad. So he is 63. He retired at 62, and he took Social Security income as soon as possible. Unfortunately for him, he never really got the memo that he should be saving for retirement, so he doesn't really have many qualified retirement accounts. He has one very small mutual fund that he can use for a source of income, but primarily for him, it's going to be Social Security, and then he has rental properties that he gets a monthly income stream from and an annual stream from. For him in retirement, it's very difficult to visualize all of this. He has the same level of expenses he did when he was working, but his paycheck is significantly lower, and it's become a huge point of stress for him. So about 2 weeks ago, I brought my computer home. I put all of his information in the system, and I opened up what we call the income summary tool to allow him to visualize that he is going to be okay, and it really did work. So this is a client that is perfect for this tool. I'm going to open up the reports, the income summary tool, and I'm going to explain it a little bit for this particular client. So the first page allows you, again, it's an awesome point of conversation because it allows you to explain to your clients where that income is coming from. For this client, we have a number of different guaranteed income sources. No other income. This, for my dad, would be where that rental property income would come from. We have income-producing investments, and then we have retirement accounts. So those are the number of different sources that income is coming from. In guaranteed income, it draws kind of that line in the sand for what expenses look like each month. That does include taxes. And it then takes us to where we meet our needs with guaranteed income. So obviously we need additional sources of income because we're not there with just our Social Security and our pension. Investment income is going to look at our security or our income-producing securities and what the growth is. So we see that a number of different months we surpass our goal, others we do not. And then retirement distributions is going to show us our RMDs, usually coming out in the beginning of the year. So this is what their picture looks like. Income is inconsistent. It is some months meeting their needs, other months not, and they need to be able to visualize how to even this all out. So we give them a surplus available for redistribution, which for this client is upwards of $50,000. And then in the next report, it's going to show us how to even out all of those months so that every single month we're getting a constant, consistent stream of income to pay for our monthly expenses. So again, it's all about visualization. This picture obviously looks a lot different than this picture. So showing them even just evening it out every single month and saying that you have enough to meet your expenses is, I think, a great talking point for your clients in retirement who are a little bit concerned, just like my dad, about where their paycheck is coming from. So I want to show you one last video. I'm going to open it up from my desktop. Patty Brennan talks about a success story using these interactive planning tools. Give me 1 second. And again, I want this to be a bit of encouragement for you to watch this WebEx, go on and use these interactive tools with your clients. So I'm going to play this really quickly, and then I'll wrap up here.
I had a client who came into me. They actually saw something that I was written up in, and they gave me a call and came in to see me, and they were working with a really prestigious advisor from one of the wirehouse firms. And in the process, in talking with them about what was important to them, I was kind of curious in terms of what brought them into my office. What weren't they getting currently that they were looking for? And the thing that came through for them is to have everything organized in one place. The idea of the vault, that their tax returns, their wills, their pictures could be all in one place was really appealing to these people. And what was really neat is as the relationship evolved, I was able to point out a couple of concepts, especially estate planning concepts, that the advisor, again, terrific advisor, had never brought up to them. In fact, when it was all said and done through the estate planning suite of eMoney, I set up a charitable remainder trust with a wealth replacement trust, and we've probably saved these people about $6 million in taxes. So this is what the tool can do. Again, it's a tool, but it's a tool that we can use to communicate that we really care. We're willing to spend the time to make sure that everything that they're doing is the right thing, even if they walk out of my office and everything that they were already doing was pretty much what we would have expected. Isn't that worth something? And we can demonstrate that through the software and through the different what-ifs.
All right, guys, so now I want you to kind of think back on the Stevensons for a second, that first family we worked with today, and just kind of think about what their goals were and the tools that we used. If 100% chance of success was the probability of the first tool we used in Goal Planner, that would have been enough. But again, every single issue that presented itself, from a business sale to an advanced technique to estate planning concepts, we had another tool to pull out of the toolbox and back us up on all of those concerns for the clients. And by the end of the meeting, we were able to accomplish every single thing they asked us for. And I think that at the end of the day, these are the things you've always promised your clients. We're going to keep an eye out on these things. These tools give you the backup almost. They give you the ability to back up the statements that you've always been promising your clients, and at the same time, you can invite them into the meeting and show them these things interactively. So thank you very much. I hope that you, again, go out, use the interactive tools in eMoney, use our sample clients to practice, and I guarantee that you're going to provide that wow factor again for your clients.